Hello and welcome, I am Scarpalog, and this is City of Heroes. We are with Dr. Cyclone, who's level 23, 41,000 XP, or about 80% of a level to go to get to level 24, and we're going to be doing a mission for Wilma Peterson, because these other guys don't want to give me missions that are leading to story arcs, so yeah, I'm still working on that, and I'm getting pretty annoyed, because all of the non-story arc missions are street hunts, security chief, etc., which is irritating me. I hate those. And you can only autocomplete them once every 3 days still, which I wish Homecoming would change to like literally once an hour. Like, I don't know what they think people are going to do, but like, I don't know. I think what they should do is tag every single street hunt as autocompletable and just let people autocomplete them for 0 XP. Like, I'll take a 0 XP autocomplete just to not have to do it. I wish I could opt out of all of them, or they would just take. I guess some people must like them, so they can't just take them out of the game. But I can't imagine why anyone would like go hunt Sue an independent port. There's like really a pain in the neck to find. And what are you gaining out of that? That's not going to be doable in a mission. I don't know. If you want to hunt them on the street, you don't need a mission to do that. So I know why this stuff was put in the game, but I hate that it's still there, and I wish they would take it out. Anyway, enough of that rant. Today we're going to talk about why people don't finish games. This is a video from a guy named Soupbox, I believe, and it was a really cool video, so I wanted to talk about it. He had 7 reasons why people don't finish games, and they came up with a bunch of reasons of how you can help yourself complete games if you feel like, gee, I'm never finishing, and I would like to finish more games. Um, and so we're fighting the freak show here. I haven't fought them with this guy yet, so it'll be interesting to see how this works, because they do a lot of electricity, and he has good energy defense, right? 75% were capped on that, so they might have some issues, more issues hurting me than other enemies do. We'll have to see what happens there. I don't know how resistant they are to electricity, though. So he talked about 2 things that make people want to finish games. He talked about completion bias, how the human brain is essentially hardwired. What did he say? Hardwired to want to finish things, and it bugs us when we leave things unfinished. And that is definitely true. Every time I log in and see my dark, what was it, defender or whatever, corruptor? No, what was he? What the heck was he? Oh, it was a dominator. My dark dominator. Every time I see him at level 40 in my screen, I'm like, I never finished him. I never got him to 50. Of course, 50 isn't the end of this game, and we'll talk about that, I guess, at some point. But it's the end for me. I stopped playing these characters at level 50 and start new characters. I never got him to 50, and it does bug me a little bit, but not enough to keep playing him, because I didn't like the way that character played after the 30s. So one thing he said that often happens is you have this completion bias where people really want to finish what they started, and it bugs them not to finish things. I suspect this is a really big reason why some of my advisees who were bio majors and started the major and are failing don't want to change. One of the students is in my seminar, and she's probably I don't even know if she's passing the seminar. She doesn't always come, and basically that's the only way to fail seminars, not show up, because it's a participation based grade. So she might still pass because there are enough free points, and if she does, I don't know if she did her presentation yet, but if she does her presentation, she'll get points for that, and she's got a partner who will probably do a good job even if she doesn't. And I think they already went. I can't remember now. There's 2 students, and they have totally different names, but they look similar, and they are confusing to me, and one of them's like an okay student, and the other was a terrible student, so they're both sometimes absent, and I sometimes confuse them, even though I really shouldn't. Anyway, the one who I think is the more okay student has already given a good presentation, so she should be fine. This other one I don't remember, but I think she already did. But there's enough free points. They do an online lab safety certification, and they get points for that, and they pretty much can keep trying that until they pass it, and most people get A's on it, and so she should be okay on that. And then they get free points for some other things, so she'll probably pass. But I was talking to her advisor yesterday, who's I'm his faculty mentor, and so he's on sabbatical, and we were chatting, and he mentioned her. He said, like, how's she doing? She has a very hard to pronounce name, and he said it, and I'm like, I actually think it's pronounced this way, and he's, oh yeah. So she's his advisee, and he said, well, one of the reasons he doesn't pronounce, can't, he struggles to pronounce her name is she often doesn't come for advisement, right? She doesn't show up to her appointments and stuff, and then she complains that he didn't advise her. But he said when he has spoken to her, he has been begging her to change majors for like a year and a half. And he said she has like a 1.7 GPA, so she can't actually graduate from college even if she somehow finishes the major, because colleges in the U.S. don't let you graduate unless you have a 2.0, which is passing as your cumulative grade point average. And so he said she can't graduate, and she's not doing well in. Didn't I hear a glowy over here? I hear one. Is it in here? Yeah. She's not doing well in her bio classes. Maybe she would do better in the non-bio classes. And, he said, I've been begging her to change majors and she won't do it. And maybe this is completion bias, right? I started it, now I want to finish it, right? And I've seen this with a lot of students. They just want to finish what they started, and although not being a quitter and finishing what you started is admirable, there are times when you just have to cut your losses. And I actually talked to one of my other advisees who was a decent bio student. She's been getting good grades, and she's in my zoology class, and she's doing okay in there, although she could do better. She doesn't always come. She usually comes, but doesn't always. And to me, if you don't have 100% attendance, that's already like, why are you doing that to yourself? You're giving up the points that you'd get from coming to class or taking quizzes or whatever. Um, but she's a good kid, and she's been in my office a couple times just to get help and stuff. And so we were walking together out of class. We were in the hallway leaving the classroom, and she was talking to me a little bit. And she said, "I wanted to talk to you about something." And she said, "I'm not sure this is the right major for me." And I said, "What happened?" And she said, "Well, I like the other parts of biology, but I really hate the molecular stuff. Like, I just don't enjoy it." And I said, well, you don't have to, it's hard to realize that in our department, which is a very heavily molecular focused department, but I said, you don't have to do molecular biology to be a biologist. You can do animal behavior, or you can do, something like ecology or botany or whatever. And she said she likes those things better, but she's not sure she wants to be a major. So here she is saying, even though she's decent at it, saying, I don't know if I'm good enough at it. I'm getting B's. I should be getting A's, and I feel like I'm getting B's because I don't love it. And she's thinking about changing her major when, oh, there's Taponzers, the owner. This guy. This gives us a badge. It's not a story arc mission, but it does give us a badge, which is why I decided to try it. And then I forgot about it as we were talking. The owner is how that's supposed to be pronounced. At one point, I used that as a password for something. I can't remember what, because it follows all the rules. Is that an exclamation point at the end of it? Yeah, right. So it has a non-alphanumeric character in it. Anyway, so yeah, we have this one student who's kind of mediocre to decent. The one student who's fairly decent and is thinking about quitting because she's not like acing everything, and another student who isn't even passing and she won't quit. Yeah, at some point, discretion is the better part of valor, and it is okay to say if something's not working that you don't want to do it, and it's okay if you don't like a game to just not finish it. You don't have to force yourself to finish a game that you don't like, and you don't have to force yourself to finish reading a book that you're not enjoying. The other thing he talked about is FOMO, fear of missing out, right? All these people online are talking about how cool the game is and how great the ending of the game is and how epic the story was, and if you don't finish the game, you won't get to see all that, and you've missed out. And I feel like this is a motivator for my best friend. He's got a major FOMO. He always has. And I think that there have been times when he's finished novels that he's admitted he doesn't like that much. Or he'll go see like the last installment of a movie series that he's not enjoying anymore. He stuck with the Wheel of Time, even though he admitted it wasn't very good by book 8, and he got all the way to book 13 or 14 because he wanted to finish it. And I think some of it's completion bias and some of it's just fear of missing out. So he said, okay, we have this completion bias, we have this fear of missing out, and yet people quit games all the time. So why do we quit games at all. And he had 7 reasons why. And I thought these were really good. So his first reason is, let's go ahead. 1, new games. New games come out. You're in the middle of playing something, especially if it's a game that takes a long time to play. Let's say Europa Universalis 4, and then EU5 comes out. Or Civilization 7 comes out. Or you're playing Civ 7 and EU5 comes out. Or you're playing City of Heroes and Champions Online comes out, which happened in 2009 for people, right? So, Hand of Iron, good. We got a story arc, excellent. There we go. Off default line. We'll go through our base. So this happens a lot. A new game comes out before the old one is finished. The new game is cool. It might be easier to play, or maybe not. One of the things he talked about. Am I going to get to this with another one? Yeah, one of the things he talked about, I'm not sure if I've got all these written down on 2 pages of paper because it was a lot of information. But yeah, one of the things he talked about is that a lot of games are to help you start and to reel you in and make you like it. Games can be fairly easy early on, right? You level up quickly, you get those little rewards, the dopamine hits, right? So you get this new game. Where's Fault Line? You get this new game, and the first few levels, ding, 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 you get all these rewards. You get that dopamine hit, right? So let's say you're playing City of Heroes, and you're level 48, and it's going to take you hours of gameplay to get to level 49, and then Champions Online comes out, and you get 3 or 4 levels in an hour, because that's what happens in COH at level 1 also, right? And so that dopamine hit makes you like that new game better, and you never go back to the old game. Of course, what's going to happen? You're going to get to level 45 or whatever it is, 37 of Champions Online, and then something else is going to come out, right? Assassin's Creed. And the early parts of that are easier than the high levels of Champions Online, so you play that. And then that gets really hard later on, and Batman Arkham Asylum comes out, and that's easier, and you play that. And you keep switching, and you never finish the old games, right? So that's one. Another one, and this isn't one that I feel like I've ever done. I've stopped playing games plenty of times, but I've stopped playing games plenty of times, but I don't think I've ever stopped for this reason. But he argues that he has had some friends, and he said this happened to him a couple times, that have loved a game so much that they didn't finish it because they didn't want it to end. Right? So it's sort of like saying, let's say, and City of Heroes is different because as an MMO it has endgame content, right? But let's say it actually ended at level 50 and there was nothing else you can do and you got a game over. As soon as you hit level 50, you finish whatever that mission is and you get game over. Congratulations for completing City of Heroes. If you want, you can go make up a new character. Or let's say you couldn't make up multiple characters. You're done, right? So then there are people who, I guess, say, I don't want to reach the end. So I want to keep playing. I don't want the game to end. Therefore, I'm going to never finish it. To me, this doesn't make any sense because if I stop playing City of Heroes, my character is 49, so that it doesn't get to 50, so that I don't have to stop playing COH. I've still stopped playing COH, right? He talked about how he was playing some game that he really loved, and he got toward the end of it, and when he knew he was like on the last little chapter or whatever, he just stopped playing it because he knew that if he kept playing it, it would end. But you stopped playing it, so it did end. Just without finishing it? Like that, I don't understand that one, but apparently it's not just him, apparently a number of players. What he argued is, you've got that big, the Easter basket or the Halloween heart with all the candy in it, and you save that last little piece of candy in the Halloween heart for a long time, because once you eat it, it's finished. Again, I feel like, well, if you're not eating it, you still didn't eat it. Like I don't know how that works, but I guess psychologically for some people, they'd rather leave that last piece of candy in the heart so that the heart is still there and they haven't eaten the last piece, and therefore they haven't finished the candy. I guess. So that's another one. So number 2 is you don't want it to end. So that's the second one. I'll get out of this battle and we'll do number 3. But yeah, as we're going through this, if you guys feel yourself or see yourself in any of these, feel free to leave a comment. This applies to me. Certainly some of these do apply to me, although that one doesn't. The third one is waiting for perfect conditions. And that definitely applies to me. So what he said is, you love this game. You think it's awesome. You really want to play it. You're enjoying it. You've heard great things about it. You're excited to play it. But today was a busy day, and you got home at 4, 5, 6. Then you had to make dinner. Then you had to deal with the kids, and you had to deal with this and that. And by the time you can sit down to play, it's 9:30, and you can only play till 10 or 10:30, let's say. And then you're going to have to get ready for bed. And it doesn't matter what times. It could be any times. But he said you're not going to be able to really sink your teeth into the game. And so what you say is, let me not play this awesome game that I love, because I'm not going to really be able to sink my teeth into it, and let me save it for a time when I can sink my teeth into it. And I can really give it the attention it deserves, and my undivided attention and concentration. So you're waiting for the perfect conditions to play the game, and of course, those perfect conditions hardly ever happen, and so you never actually play the game because it's never the perfect conditions to play the game. And I will say this happens to me, not with COH, because I can always turn on COH and just run a mission, but a lot of times when I want to play a game, but I don't have a lot of time, I will just turn on COH instead. I'll say, you know what, I'm not going to start messing around with EU4 or Civilization or Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts tonight. That takes a long time. I've got to really focus. I'm in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. I'm going to have to redesign 3 different ships in my fleet. That's going to take a long time, and I don't want to rush that because the design is going to affect how the combat works and everything. So let me just play a couple of missions of COH, and I'll worry about Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, right? And before you know it, a week has gone by, and I haven't actually played the game that I want to play more because, quote-unquote, I don't have time to really do it right. And so then you never get around to it because the conditions are never perfect, and you don't want to play the game under imperfect conditions, so you just never play it at all. Right? You keep waiting for the perfect circumstances in which to play the game, and the perfect circumstances never happen, and so then you don't play it at all. And so that's definitely something that happens to me, and there are plenty of times when I played COH, even narrating with you guys, like now, this morning. It's Friday morning. I'm going to have to make brunch and go to work. I don't teach class until the afternoon, and I don't have office hours on Friday. And I did all my grading, and I made up 2 exams this week. And all I got left to do is make up finals, and I don't have anything to grade right now other than 1 quiz, which I can do in like 20 minutes. So I'm going to go in an hour or 2 before my class starts and just take it a little bit easy today since I've worked hard all week. And so I have time to play a game. And I could have played my current non-COH game that I'm working on, which is X4 Foundations. And I'm having fun in that game, but I did it this morning. Even knowing this, of course, I also wanted to do this video, but I said I don't want to start X4 Foundations because I think I need to put more than an hour into it. I really want to sit and concentrate on what I'm doing. And COH, I can just play and do a rant. I've got everything written down, what I want to say. And so I'll just do that today, right now. And I'll play X4 tonight. But what's going to happen tonight is I'm going to come home late because the seminar doesn't end till 4. And then I won't be home till 5. And then I'm going to make dinner. And then this friend of mine usually calls me on Friday nights and talks. And so by the time I sit down to play a video game today, it's almost certainly going to be somewhere on the order of 9:30. And if I'm tired, I might say, you know what, let me play some COH again instead of X4 because it's not the perfect conditions, right? And so he said that is often a reason why people don't finish games is because they're waiting for perfect, and perfect never comes. And so then they just do other games while they're waiting for the perfect conditions and they never actually play the game that they wanted. Before I do this, let's get to number 4. The fourth reason, he said, is the novelty wears off. Right? All those cool mechanics and all the cool stuff that you enjoyed at the beginning. Well, after you're playing COH and we've got all these cool storm powers, right? And they're really awesome and I enjoy them. But I'm going to hit these buttons and see these effects 30 or 40 times just in this mission alone. And I've seen them thousands of times across all the missions, right? It can get repetitive. It can get kind of grindy, right? And this will always happen. The novelty of anything wears off. I remember when I got kittens, and one of my friends, Leonard, who was part of my game group, had 2 cats. And I was like getting a real kick out of them, like playing with their own tails and stuff. And I can't remember whatever happened. He said to me, "Scrapper, the novelty will wear off. Like the novelty wears off." And a month or 2 later, I said to my mom, he's right. The novelty wore off. And she said, "What do you mean? You don't want the cats anymore?" Like, it was a big battle for me to make her let me get the cats. And I said, "No, but the novelty wore off, and they're now just our cats." I mean, I love the cats, and we had them for years, and they're the 2 best cats in the world. I miss them. I always say I would like to get another cat, but I would actually like to get 2 cats and have it be those 2 cats. Like, I want them back. They were wonderful cats. They were just the best. One of them was super playful. The other one was super cuddly. So if you wanted a cat to like sit on your lap and purr, you got one cat. If you wanted a cat to run around the house and play with the balls and practically play fetch like a dog, you had the other cat, and they got along with each other and they were really fun. Right? But the novelty did wear off. Because it always does. Because that's how novelty works. Like, by definition, novelty cannot last. Right? So, like with City of Heroes, it was superheroes, and there was a certain game system, and it was really cool, and eventually the novelty wore off. There's no more novelty. I still enjoy the game. Now there's nostalgia rather than novelty, but the novelty wears off. And that's true for anything. It's going to happen. So if the novelty wearing off causes you to stop playing a game, well, that's going to happen a lot, right? And that's one of the reasons why people stop. And if we go back to reason number 1, which is the new games, right? The new game has the novelty that the old game you've been playing for a month doesn't have anymore, right? And so you end up hopping games because the novelty of this game wore off, so you're looking for that novelty and you go find another game, right? And that definitely happens too. And then his 5th reason is some games are just too long, right? They just make some games just too long. And so you have to play them for so many months or years or whatever before you finish them. It's just too long. And most people just don't have the stamina for that. Let's say you're playing some kind of a grand strategy game, and the game takes 150 hours for one complete playthrough. Well, most people aren't going to stick with a game for that long. It's just a long time. That's a lot of hours to put into a game. If you look at the games that I've played on Steam, there's only a handful of them that I've played for over 100 hours. Stellaris holds my record still with 600 hours because I used to do that co-op with a friend of mine. And then I think Skyrim is like 170 or something. And it goes down from there, right? I played Skyrim completely through 2 or 3 times, I think. But it goes down from there. I have just a handful of games that are over 100 hours. And of course, City of Heroes, if I had a timer on it, which I don't, would probably be in the thousands. But yeah, there are, like, if it takes that many hours to get through, a lot of people don't finish, right? One person for X4 talked about, and you can see this a lot of times in other games, he said, yeah, what's going on with this game's tutorial? If you look at achievements, the basic tutorials, like, I don't know, 80, 95% of players have finished it and Steam achievements, but only 4% have gotten the achievement, or 5% have gotten the achievement for finishing the intermediate tutorials. Now, I think the reason for that, because I've finished it and I've gotten that achievement, is that, yeah, they're bugged, and you can't always finish them. right? There were several times when I just left a tutorial and went on to the next ones, and then after closing the game, doing something else, coming back tomorrow and restarting the game, I was able to actually get that tutorial to do what it was supposed to do. Um, so I think some of it's bugged. Some of the tutorial instructions are just not clear, and they tell you to do something, to go click on an item, and you can't, like, what? There is no item. What are you talking about, right? And so um, I think that's probably one of the reasons that people don't finish it. But the question was, how are people playing this game if they haven't even done the tutorials? Some people don't need tutorials. They played the previous game because it's X4, so they can play X3. They know how to play it. I never played X3, so yeah, I needed the tutorials. But um, but yeah, some games are just really long. If you look at City of Heroes, right, especially early on, there was a huge amount of grinding. So this is now, he didn't say this, but I said it's not always the content. Sometimes it's just the grinding. But then the other thing he said was some people ruin the game experience for themselves by trying to 100% the game, right? That they're not only trying to get through the main story arcs of the game and finish the story, the main story, but they want to do every side quest, get every badge, achievement, etc. And so, like with City of Heroes, I consider level 50, I finished the game for this character. I finished the character, right? But if you're somebody who thinks that getting to the end of the incarnate abilities is finishing the character and doing the incarnate trials and completing them all, well, then I've never finished a character in City of Heroes, right? And so somebody who considers that to be finishing the game, but has never been able to do it, would feel very unsatisfied because they'd feel like they've never finished. Whereas I feel very satisfied when I get to level 50, I'm done. So I would say I've finished characters multiple times in this game, and somebody who wants to 100%, they want to get every badge, not just every explorer badge, but every history badge, every accolade, every accomplishment, all of them, 100% of them. Well, trying to 100% every badge in this game would be an undertaking of multiple years for most players, even if you're playing several hours a day. And I can't imagine that there are more than a tiny handful of people who have 100%ed every badge in the game. All of them, not just explorers, but events, right? Invention badges, accolades, right? Look at all these. And these are often done by doing things in combination. Some of them are very difficult to get. The event ones only happen at certain times a year, so you got to be logged in during those events, right? Like the winter event and stuff. If you don't happen to be able to log in that week or that month, you have to wait till next year to get it. My guess is it would be the work of a number of years, and minimally a year, because you'd have to get through a cycle of all the events to get every single badge. And also, you wouldn't be able to get every single badge unless you've been on Homecoming from the beginning, because aren't there badges for how many months or years or whatever you've been subscribed, right? And if you didn't have your character when Homecoming first was invented, then some of those anniversary badges, don't we have them somewhere? I don't know which one they're in. Accolades? I'm not sure which one they're in. Where you have the ones for having been around for a certain number of years. This character may not have them because he hasn't been around that long, right? And so I'm not sure exactly where they store them and how they calculate it, but I'm pretty sure if you just made up an account today and then tried to 100% the game, you would not be able to get the badges that were like loyal customer for this many years, loyal player for this many years, because those started in 2019 and then they gave them forward, so you're missing 6 of them, right? And so yeah, it would be very, very difficult to 100% this game. And if you insisted on it and wanted that and were unsatisfied if you didn't, then you would feel like you never accomplished what you wanted. So yeah, some games are just really, really long and make it so that only the most stubborn people are going to be finished. And sometimes it's the fault of the players. Right? So if you look at, for instance, Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, which is a World War, it's a 1890s, supposed to be 1890s to 1950, right? So you can start the game in either 1890, 1900, or 1910. And originally the game went to 1950 because it was like a kind of like a World War II, World War One, World War II ship battle simulator. Where's this guy? Where's this guy? Is he up here? Oh, he's not supposed to be up there. That's a bug. They're not supposed to be up there. He got caught. I hope I can actually get him. Oh, nope. It's a bugged mission. And I just auto-completed one, too. See if I can I aggro him and get him to come down? Okay. Got him. So yeah, some games are just long to be long. Oh, so Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. That's how the game started, right? They said this is, it's 1890 to 1950, and after that, like we don't have any post World War II tech, so you're just gonna have to kind of live without that, right? Like you're gonna have to live with the game ending in 1950. But a lot of people said, yeah, but I haven't, like, they want to take over the world, and like I haven't taken over the world yet. I still want to conquer the last couple countries. So they extended the date to 1955, 1960, 1965. I think they might have extended it almost to 1969, like December 31st, 1969 or so to 1970. Um, there's no more tech. There are no more discoveries to make. You can't improve the ships after the early 50s. Going to Talos, right? Yeah. So all it did was make the game take 20 years longer of game time, right? Which is insane. So you can start the game on 1910 and go to 19. Originally, you would start at 1910, go to 1950. It'd be 40 years, and that would take a certain number of hours. If you go from 1890 to 1970, it's 80 years. You double the length of the game without adding any content, right? And mostly that doubling was done at the request of the players because they wanted a longer game. But it does make it so that now, if you stop in 1950, it feels like you quote unquote didn't finish the game. Even though usually by 1950 in my playthroughs, if I've gotten there, I am so dominant that nobody can fight me at this point, right? It's just going to be a bunch of little piddling wars that are just a waste of my time and take hours and hours. But yet I still went through and finished it, right? Once. And after that, once or twice, and after that I'm like, I'm not, if I've clearly won, I'm not going to bother anymore. But it does mean that you quote unquote haven't finished the game because the completion screen and all of that happens. Are these guys going to attack me? Oh, they're green. The completion screen happens as a result of getting to the last year, right? So it feels like you aren't finished, even though you would have been pre the patch that extended the timelines, right? So that's another reason. Like some games are just too long, and sometimes it's the fault of the players. Crusader Kings was this way too. The original start date was 1066. Then they backed it up in Crusader Kings 2 to like 864, and then they backed it up to like 768. So, well, that's an extra 200, 300 years, depending on which patch, of gameplay. So instead of going from 1066 to the 1400s, you're going from 700s to the 1400s. So it's a 700-year span instead of a 400-year span. And although texts are different and stuff, having played the game from both start dates but never finished it except from the 1066 start date, I have to say I'm not clear that the 768 or whatever it is start date adds anything valuable to it, except just making it longer. And I've never finished after I started at that date. Never. Um, I did finish Crusader Kings 3, but honestly, the last like 150 years or something of my Chinese dynasty, I was just running it at high speed and just clicking OK, 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 OK to a lot of the buttons just to say I finished it, right? Completion bias. Longer doesn't mean better, and some games are just really long, and most people aren't going to stick with it for that many months to play the game. His sixth reason, again, so this is along with the novelty, is um, early payoffs are much greater than the later payoffs. And so this is what he was talking about in like with new games, how when you start a game, um, you get a lot of early payoffs and rewards like level ups and a cool new weapon and stuff. And it's super fun early on because um, because you get those rewards, and this sort of tricks your brain into seeking those rewards in the game. But little by little, level by level, it takes longer and longer and longer to gain those rewards. You have to play a longer time in order to get that dopamine hit. And what starts to happen is I just played this whole session and I only got 3 beads, right? I remember when COH first came out and there was a much higher XP requirement for leveling up. And I can't remember what level we were, but it was around this level, right, in the 20s. And I remember the one guy saying, gee, I remember you'd go in and do a mission and you'd gain a bead. Now I complete a mission and it hardly looks like the XP bar has moved, right? It just went from here to here instead of a whole bead. By the way, there was no mission at completion XP at that point, right? So he was just talking about going in and getting the XP for the villains in the mission. Well, okay, this one won't be so bad because these guys are pretty easy to find in Talos Island. The real problem I have with the Sioux Independent Port storyline is that they're almost always in mixed spawns with family and really hard. It's just so hard to deal with them, and a lot of them are sorcerers, which are a pain in the neck, although they're not as bad for this character. And so I really hate that. But I guess we'll have to do the 20 freak shows. So yeah, so you get these games that get you used to the reward structure, used to the dopamine hit, and then they slow it down. And what happens is eventually it gets so slow that you don't want to do it anymore because you're not getting the dopamine hit every time you play, right? That's what this guy was saying. I get the dopamine hit of a full XP bar after every mission, and now I'm not getting that dopamine hit. I can play all night and I only got half a bar, and that's frustrating because I want to see that bar go up, right? I want to hear the ding. So yeah, so that's another reason people don't like that they're not getting any payoffs, and so cycle back to number one. They go back to a new game that is giving them those early payoffs, and that slows down, and then they switch to another game, and another game, and another game, and another game, right? The last thing he said will cause people to stop playing games is difficulty spikes. I've talked about this a little bit in COH, but I feel like COH has this pretty well under control, except for when they only had AVs and no elite bosses. And that was a design decision that they made to try and force players to have groups to fight AVs. There was a deliberate difficulty spike. But he said games will have these difficulty spikes. And so you get a comfort level with the game, and then all of a sudden you're fighting something that's much more difficult. And you're not as, you struggle more with it. Let's see if we get a bigger group of freaks. Sometimes you can. Okay, these are both freaks. Okay. I would have liked to have 3 or 4 of them, but this is fine. So yeah, he said you have this comfort level of the game and you feel like, okay, I'm pretty good at this game, I'm enjoying it, and then you get to some new difficult challenge and it's so hard, so much harder than the rest of the game, and you get frustrated. You're like, wait a minute. The stuff that I was enjoying, oh, there's an ambush. The stuff that I was enjoying isn't around anymore, right? This is taking me off. It's hard. It's not fun. And so you quit. And I have definitely had that happen. I hit a difficult, and I don't know, I don't remember enough of it, but playing XCOM, I got to the spot where they can mind control your troops, and I can't figure out how to deal with it. Like, I've tried a couple times I just get wiped every time. And so it's like, well, I feel like I made some mistakes that I have to go back to an earlier save and deal with, and I'm just not interested in going back to an earlier save, or maybe even starting the whole game over, which is bad design of the game. But yeah, you have this difficulty spike where I've been fine all along, and then all of a sudden they introduce an enemy that I can't defeat. And what ended up happening is I just started playing a different game. It's literally exactly what he's describing because of that difficulty spike, right? And so that's something else. He said one of the things he talked about. He said this requires discipline, right? He talked about he was in some game where they have bosses, and he got to the first boss and he couldn't beat it, and he just put the game down, right? And then he tried again. He finally said, "Let me try it." And he just said, "I'm going to keep doing it a few times a night until I figure it out." And he eventually beat it. And he said what this took was discipline, right? Winning against the difficulty spike requires discipline. And he said, it's easy to say, "Oh, well, dude, you have no discipline if you can't," right? But he said, here's the problem. A lot of the things in our lives require discipline. And sometimes at the end of the day, when you sit down to play a game, you don't want something else that's going to require discipline. And I think I agree with that, right? Like, you've had a tough day. There's a sense in which playing games can work out stress, but if the game becomes frustrating and requires you to exert the kind of discipline that you have to exert at work or at school or whatever, it may not be what you're in the mood for at 9 o'clock at night tonight. Right? I guess we're just going to fight warriors too. There we go. It's like, why isn't it targeting? So those are his 7 reasons why people quit games. Why is tab not targeting? Oh, I see. Okay, let me explain it. I can't replicate it now, probably, but so I was standing under these phone wires. I don't know if you can see it. So I had it angled here where the phone wires, which are right here, telephone pole wires, the electric wires, were in between me and the guy. And these things, you can walk on them. They act like a wall. So it was almost like I had the wall between me and the guy. And so when I was tab targeting, it wasn't targeting him. It'll target that guy over there. But if I don't have line of sight, it's not going to target him. And so what was happening is, I think this thing, even though it looks like it's just wires, is a solid surface that must block targeting of line of sight. So I guess that's what happened. Don't know, but I was hitting tab like crazy, and it wasn't targeting anything, and I couldn't figure out why. All right, so, okay, people give up on games, and maybe you don't care. Like, it's just a game, whatever, who cares? But he said for him, seeing all these unfinished games on his Steam library kind of frustrates him. Completion bias and FOMO kick in, and I want to try to finish more games. I want to finish the games I start. So he said, how can you solve this problem if you are the sort of person who would like to finish more of the games you start? Now, if you're not, you don't need this part. But I am. I actually would like to finish the games I start as long as I'm enjoying them, right? My thing is, if I don't like the game, I'm not going to try to finish it. But if I'm enjoying it, I'd like to finish it. So he said, let me give you some solutions. And he came up with a bunch, and then I'm going to add one. So solutions. Let's do ABC since, well, we'll do one. So solution 1, pair hard and easy games. What he said was, if you've got a game that's difficult and frustrating and challenging and requires discipline, pair it up with a game that you find easy to do and don't struggle with. And this way, you can get that dopamine hit, that quick fix of this is fun and I was able to do it without a problem, while you're also playing that harder game, right? If the hard game is frustrating, switch to the easy game. So, definitely me. There have been many times, guys, and you've heard it happen. I've been frustrated with something like XCOM or whatever game, right? Some other game I'm playing, and what do? I come play COH. This is my easy game. This is the one that I have no trouble with. Did anybody get any close to taking down my health bar today. Nope. I know this game really well, and I know how to manage my experience in this game to keep it enjoyable all the time, other than street hunts I don't like. But that's a game mechanic. That's not me being good or bad at the game, right? Now, I'm sure people would say I'm terrible at this game because I don't do the enhancements right, and I'm fighting whites and blues and yellows instead of deep purples at this level. But for me, this is a fun game. I enjoy it, and I know if I want to succeed, I can just log in and do a mission. Like, I almost never fail a mission, right? Except for the ones where the guy is going to sneak out and you have to stop him, and I don't notice it until he runs out and it says mission failed. Which isn't really, I mean, isn't failure in the sense that I lost. You can't lose a mission in City of Heroes, right? You just keep doing it until you win, and I hardly ever die. And so, yeah, if I want a nice, smooth, frictionless experience that doesn't require a lot of discipline, I can play COH, and I'll enjoy it, and it'll be fun, and I'll have way more success in whatever game I'm being than in whatever game I'm being frustrated in. Euro Truck Simulator is the same way. There's no chance I'm going to be unable to get the truck where I need it to go in most cases. Every once in a while they give you a really tight turn that I can't do, but 99% of the time it's just a nice, easy, just drive down a pretty highway and you're just no problem, right? So these are games, Power Wash Simulator also. These are games there's almost no chance I'm going to fail. There's almost no chance I'm going to get frustrated. And you can pair that with a game that's frustrating, and that helps you to not be frustrated. You get a sense of accomplishment, enjoyment, and fun out of the easier game, and it makes the frustration a little less. Second one, and this is one that I am doing right now in X4 because I think this is a great idea. Set your own goals. Don't let the game set the goal for you. Set your own goals. And set those goals to something you can do. So his example, and I love this idea, struggling with a really hard boss in Dark Souls or something, you can't beat it. Okay, don't make that your goal. Instead, make your goal be getting him down to half his health. And then if you get him down to half his health, but you can't do any more than that, okay, you met your goal. And now you can get him down to half his health. You feel like you accomplished something. Now try to get him down to 1/4 of his health. Get him, take 3/4 of his health away. Right? That could be your goal. So like in X4, what's the goal of the game is to be a billionaire and own a bunch of capital ships and space stations and have a bunch of NPCs working for you and have a giant, basically, space empire. Well, that's going to take months of gameplay. But what I can do with my character who started out with 5,000 credits is say, my goal is to get to 10,000 credits. I got there last night. I got to 8,000 the first night. Before I set this goal, I'm like, all right, I'm at 8,000, let me get to 10,000. I'm at 13 now. My next goal, 20,000. I'm not going to try to get to a billion. I'm not going to try to build a space station. I'm not going to try to buy capital ships yet. My goal is going to be to get up, right, and then 25, and then maybe 50, right? Eventually, I'll have a goal of get a second ship and hire, and then once I get the second ship, maybe hire somebody to run that second ship. I want to do some mining. I want to do some deliveries and stuff myself, but eventually hire NPCs to do it after I've done it myself for a while. So I can set little miniature goals, and I don't have to have the goal be, let me build a space station that's going to cost me 1,000,000 credits, right? So that's the second one. The third one is change the difficulty. COH is unique among MMOs in that it lets you change the difficulty. But a lot of video games have this. And he said, obviously, like you can't do it with Dark Souls. They don't allow it. That's one of the things about those games and Elden Ring. They don't have a difficulty setting. You just have to get good. It's one of the many reasons I don't play those games because I'm not that good and I don't want to get that good. Like I'm not interested in practicing my Twitch skills to get good at it. There's a whole bunch of other reasons I don't like those games, having to do with the gameplay and stuff. But yeah, he said there are all these people who are like they feel like ashamed if they have to put it on an easier like casual setting. He said nobody's going to see it but you. And who cares? You still finished the game if you finished it on casual. You can always go back if you like the game and play it again on a harder difficulty level now that you've finished it. But it really isn't that big of a deal if you change the difficulty setting. And you guys have seen me do this in COH, right? Am I going to not be able to find this? Oh, it's down here. Okay. Where I'm fighting a boss and I can't beat him at +1, so I set it to +0. Or I'm +2, I set it to +1, can't beat him at +1, set it +0. I generally haven't had to set it on -1, but yeah, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not ashamed of it. I just want to finish this boss and move on. If you don't do that, then you're more likely not to finish the game. So go ahead and change the difficulty. Each setting is valid. The developers put the settings in there. They're all valid. Now, doing cheat codes, that's maybe a little different. But if it's a valid thing that the developers have allowed, why not? And I mean, heck, if you want to use cheat codes, use them. The fourth one is give yourself permission to skip content. Dude, I'm doing this right now in COH. Right? Every one of the street hunt missions this guy gives me, I'm skipping. Give yourself permission to skip content you don't like. Give yourself permission to skip the side quests and just do the main quest. Give yourself permission not to get every badge and achievement in the game, but just finish the game. You don't have to get every badge in COH. You can just say, and I've done this, I get to 50, I have finished the game. I'm skipping the incarnate content. I'm skipping the Hamadan trials. I'm skipping all the badge hunting for most of my characters. I do it on some because I enjoy it. But for most of my characters, I'm skipping the badge hunting because I'm not interested. And I don't feel like I need to... Whoops, no, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to hit this, but it's not up. I'm doing what I enjoy, and when I get to the end of what I enjoy, I'm done. Right? So finish the main quest without doing all those side quests. If you don't like it, don't do that part. Right? So look at like Pathfinder Kingmaker. I ended up not finishing that game because of the kingdom building part. Again, it should be something I loved. I hated the mechanics of it. I was thinking about this with Fallout. Is it Fallout 4? Where you're building like a base in your town and stuff. I absolutely hated that part of Fallout 4 as well. It's very similar to Pathfinder Kingmaker in that you, like, they keep sending you over there to deal with it. I hate dealing with it. I hate it. Right? I should love it. It's a cool concept. I like building bases in Satisfactory. I love it. Why do I hate it in these other games? Because Satisfactory has really good base building mechanics, so does Ark. And these other games that I hate it in, I hate the mechanics. I don't like the way the graphics work. I don't like the way the building works. I find it non-intuitive. I loved Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, its successors, Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo. I can't play those games because I hate the mechanics of how building works. It's not intuitive to me. The UI does not work for me. Right? So, okay, you don't want to build a base. If you can play the game without building the base, then don't build the base. In Pathfinder Kingmaker, you can automate that. I might someday go back and try that game with it automated and see if it actually works. And I don't know. We'll see. But I never finished that game because I hated the base building, the kingdom building. And when I realized I had done it all wrong and I was going to have to go back and start over again, I was like, I'm done. I don't even like this part. I'm certainly not going to do it over again. Right? So he said, give yourself permission to skip the non-vital content and just do the main quest. Now, some games make it so that if you don't do the side quest, you don't get enough XP. You haven't leveled up enough, and you're going to have a harder time on the final boss. So then that's not really optional. That's not really optional side quests, right? Because if it were optional, you wouldn't have to level up in order to beat the boss. But yeah, if the game has optional side quests, you can skip those. Give yourself permission to just do the content you like. So in COH, you know, if you're done at level 50, then you're done at level 50. You don't have to do incarnate trials. If you want to, go for it. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. Right? Do the stuff you like, and when you're done with that, you're good. So give yourself permission to skip content. His fifth one is to say, it's okay not to finish a game you aren't enjoying. Right? Give yourself permission to not finish games and consider them quote unquote finished in the sense that I don't like this game, I'm not enjoying this game, I'm done with this game. Did that with Hogwarts Legacy. I liked the early parts of the game, and then in the later parts of the game, I just wasn't enjoying it, wasn't feeling it. It has the what I used to call, I guess, circular combat. So this is camera lock. Now COH has camera lock. Let me show you. That's camera lock, right? But the thing is, as I move my character, the camera doesn't stay locked on that guy unless I attack him again, and then it'll go behind my head. In the games like Dark Souls, this actually started apparently in Legend of Zelda, and apparently the origin of it, I looked it up today because I hate it so much. The mechanic of putting the boss, basically locking the camera to the boss, and then what the effect of the combat is that the way it feels is like the boss is in the center of a circle and you're moving around in a fixed radius, fighting the boss and rolling to the left and rolling to the right. Oh, the rolling. I hate the rolling. I hate it so much. I hate dodging and rolling and blocking. All of that crap. That's why I like COH better. The camera lock in COH is fine because you can get away from it. I can just hold the right mouse button and push it away. It doesn't kick in immediately, right? It only kicks in when I attack. Right? And then as this guy moves, my camera is not moving back and forth with him. And so I'm not like walking around him in a circle with the camera super zoomed in, which is what happens in most of these games like Elden Ring and stuff. I hate that. Hate it. Right? Apparently it was done to make it easier for people using controllers who couldn't do the accurate clicking that you can with mouse clicking for targeting and stuff. But I hate the way that combat feels. It all feels generically the same. It's like every one of these games, whether it's Hogwarts Legacy or Dark Souls, I played the original a little bit, or I can't remember whatever other games I tried, like 4 or 5 other games that have these sort of what I called circle combat, where you're moving around, you're circling each other, or where the bad guys, basically what happens is you have this, there's a grid coordinate system here, right? And, I don't know, bottom left here is 0, 0, and it's objective. Right, and so I'm in like 175.42, and the villain's over here in 178.57. Okay, so what the impression I get from these circle combat games, these camera lock games, is that in the battle, and I'm sure this happens actually in the GPU or CPU, once the battle starts, the villain becomes 0, 0, 0, and everything is relative to where the villain is standing. And I hate that, right? I want the game to be centered on my character, not on the villain. And this centers the game on the target. And I don't like that. Now, some people may love it, but I feel like these games, they all have dodging, they all have blocking, they all have timings of the villain specials, right? The abilities the villains are doing, and you have to dodge out of the way, right? And one attack can be blocked but not dodged, and one attack can be dodged but not blocked. And he telegraphs that he's going to do each of the attacks with some kind of an animation or icon or something, and you have to be like, okay, I dodged this, block this, dodge this, block this. And if you block when you were supposed to dodge, you die. You lose half your hit points, and you're going to lose the fight, right? You can't afford to block when you're supposed to dodge, or dodge when you're supposed to block. And if you shoot him when he's defending himself, it does no damage. So you have to time, shoot him when he's vulnerable, dodge when you have to dodge, block when you have to block, and all while you're moving in a little circle around this target, left to right. I hate that whole experience. I don't like it, but I also hate that every game seems to have it now, and I can't get away from it. There are so many games that seem really cool. They seem to have cool graphics, cool story, cool animation, and I don't want to play them, right? Hogwarts Legacy was a really cool game until I realized that I was going to have to keep doing these boss fights using this circle combat that I hate, and I was like, I can't deal with it, and I just gave up. So if you hate a game, if you're not enjoying the game, you're not feeling the game, it's okay to give up. The next thing he said is to reduce the friction. What he argues is that one of the things we try to do is try to do too much in a game, right? I'm going to log in at level 23 and I want to get to level 25 tonight. Well, that's too much. Don't do that. Commit to just one small thing. I'm just going to go in tonight and do one mission. Just one mission. And he said a lot of times that leads to doing another mission and another mission and another mission. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but you can make a lot of progress doing one mission a night in City of Heroes. You'll eventually get to level 50. It just take you a long time. But it may not be so bad if you're enjoying one mission at a time. Another thing he said happens is we often forget. Like if I haven't played, like I'm in the middle of this story arc, and then I don't play for a month. When I come back, I don't even remember where I was, right? So what he said was, if you're forgetting where you were, watch Let's Plays of the game, right? You don't remember the beginning of this story arc, go find somebody who's played this story arc in a video and watch them play. And this way you don't have to play it, but you can get the story and you get your brain back in the headspace of it. And he said watching them play might make you excited to play the game too. And by the way, guys, there are a few people, not a lot, but a few people over the years of me doing these Let's Plays who have said, hey, watching you play this game has made me want to play this. Watching you play a Stalker made me play a Stalker. I never tried them before. Watching you play a Scrapper made me want to play a Scrapper. I always used to do Brutes, but I found out Scrappers are really fun too, etc., etc. Right? So it could get you excited about the game, but also it can help refresh your memory as to what the storyline was without having to put all the time and effort into either figuring it out, remembering it, or replaying it over again, right? And I've had that happen, and this has contributed to me not finishing games, right? I leave it for a while, maybe not because I wasn't having fun, but just because life got in the way, I'm busy like applying for tenure or whatever, I don't have time this month, next month, the month after. Right now it's been 3 months since I played the game. I'm out of practice. I don't remember the story. I don't remember what I was planning to do. So I'm like, you know what? I got to start over. Well, now I'm never going to finish, right? Because I already had 20 hours into this game and I was 10th level. Now I'm going to start over at first level, and in 20 hours I'm going to be 10th level again, and guess what? I'm going to get busy again. And you never finish. So he said, if you watch Let's Plays, you can watch your Let's Plays over lunch. And then when you get home and you have time to game, you can go back to the part that you were at instead of having to start over again, which I think is actually a great idea. Another one that I'm now trying, I'm using Obsidian for this because I want to be able to index it. You could do it on paper too. I thought about doing it on paper, but I'm doing it on Obsidian. We'll see how it goes. He said, number 8, keep a gaming journal. Write down what you're doing. Write down what you did. This way, you don't... Let's see, where's Talk to Dr. Jackson? So where am I right now? I am in Skyway. For a second, because it's gray, I thought I was in Independence Port. So we'll just go to the train station right there. Yeah, so keep a gaming journal. Not during play. At least for me, I said not during play, but after the session's over, just jot down a couple of bullet points of what happened. So like now, I would say, okay, worked with Dr. Peterson, got on the Iron Hand story arc, and the last thing I did was take this info to Detective Jackson. And then I know where I was. And even if I come back a month later, I know where I was. Also, he said you can keep a journal of your accomplishments. I gained 4 beads of XP today, right? And so when you go back and look at it, it's like, hey, I did that. I didn't gain a level, but I did gain 4 beads. And you go back and look at your journal. I get 4 beads today, gained 3 beads today. I got to level 24 today. And it feels like you're accomplishing something. The 9th thing he said to do, we're getting to the end, is reward yourself. When you do finish a game, treat yourself to an ice cream or something. Give yourself something you like. Buy a treat for yourself. Tell your friends about it. Blog about it online or talk to people on Discord or whatever it happens to be. Celebrate it. You accomplish something. Celebrate that accomplishment, and that'll make you want to do another one because you enjoyed the celebration. Or, you bought yourself something. I bought myself some new ink for my fountain pen. And I'm going to buy ink in the color that pertains to whatever the accomplishment was. So I leveled up this character who's blue and white. You can't really use white ink, but I could try to go in here and look at the color, right? This particular color blue, and try to buy a fountain pen ink that matches this shade of blue, maybe with a metallic sheen to it. And then every time I use that ink, I'll remember that I got this guy to level 50 and I finished the game, right? However you want to do it, reward yourself. So those are his recommendations. Here's one that I'm going to add. Play short games. This one's for me, but it might be for you guys too. One of the things that I like, and I would say read short books, watch short movies. I don't know, or movies that don't have a series, right? Start things that aren't that hard to finish. One of my problems is I like things I can sink my teeth into. I want to read a novel. 1,000 pages is better than 150. I want to read that novel because it's thick. Problem is, it's going to take me a month to read that novel. And in that time, I haven't finished a book. And if I want to finish books, that can start to feel frustrating, right? Same thing with games. There have been games that I've looked at on Steam that looked cool. There was one, I don't think it was Call of Cthulhu. I think there was some other game that was made by an indie developer, and it was a Call of Cthulhu Lovecraftian style game and even had a creature like Cthulhu in it. You're in like a lighthouse at the beginning. I don't remember the name of the game. It looked really cool. I think this was the game. I might be mixing it up with something else. It looked really cool. It looked really interesting. It was an indie developer. It was in, I think it was out. It wasn't in early access. Checked all my boxes, Lovecraftian. And I looked at it and was like, but it's only like 15 hours of gameplay. Ugh. If I'm going to like the game, I want to sink my teeth into it, right? Now, I do object to paying a lot of money for a short game because it's dollars per hour, right? If I can spend $60 on a game that gives me 120 hours of gameplay, or $60 on a game that gives me 10 hours of gameplay, I'm going to do one, not the other. But I don't think this was a super expensive game. I should look for it again. My turnoff on this game was it was only 10 or 15 hours. Like, I'll be done with that game in a week. Well, guess what, guys? That's finishing a game, right? So I tend to like these games, right? Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, one of the reasons I bought it was because it said you could go past 1950. I want to go longer, right? Crusader Kings. I always tried to start at the 7 after I got the updates. I always tried to start at the 768 or whatever it is start date instead of 864 or whatever it is, or 1066. So I never finished the dang thing because I always tried to play the longest version of it. Right? The longer the better. I'm like, yes, this is a long game. It's going to take me years to play. And guess what? I never finish it. So if you want to finish some games, give yourself a sense of completion, maybe try some shorter games. Games, like, I started playing a game, it only has 20 levels. COH has 50. Well, okay, but you can get to level 20 faster, right? And you'll finish. So don't be afraid of short games. And maybe add some. And I'm going to say for myself, I'm going to try to add some to my rotation, right? Some games that are short. Even like there's these war games, right? Where was it Panzer Corps 2 or whichever one that I'm playing. I stopped playing it a while ago because I got busy doing other stuff and I started getting the physical board games and I started playing those with my game time. But that has like the full campaign from 1939 to like 1945, or shorter campaigns like just the Poland campaign or just the Eastern Front. What did I do? First pop out of the gate, whole campaign after doing the tutorials. Well, it's going to take me months to finish that. On the other hand, if I just did Poland, that'd be over already. It's only like 4 scenarios, and I would have finished the game, at least that campaign, right? Don't be afraid of short games. I have many, many times said no to something that was too short, on the basis it's too short and I won't be able to immerse myself in it for a long time. And so I'm depriving myself of what might be short but fun experiences that would be finished, and I could say, okay, I'm done with this game now. I have finished this game. As an ancillary to that, I'm going to call it 10.5. I'm just thinking about this now. Beware games with no ending, right? There are games that don't end, like American Truck Simulator. You can play it indefinitely. As long as you want to play it, you can keep earning more money, getting more trucks, buying more garages. When you own every garage and every truck in the game, you can still drive it and you can still play it, right? Same thing with X4, probably. You can still keep playing it even when you own every sector of the galaxy. Um, Same thing with COH. You can go into veteran levels and keep doing incarnate trials endlessly, right? There are a lot of games that don't have a story to them and don't have a climax and don't have an ending. And historically, I have favored those games because if I like the game, I want to keep playing it. But those games deprive you of a sense of completion. Unless you go back up here and set your own goals, number 2, unless you do that and consider that the end of the game. Like American Truck Simulator, my goal is to have $1 million. Once I'm there, I'm done. Or what I started out with is an insane goal, which is to buy every garage in the game and have every garage fully staffed by members of my company. When I can't buy any more, hire any more drivers because I don't have any more garage slots because I own every slot and every garage in the game, then it was quote unquote finished. Yeah, I owned 2 garages max, and there were like 50, maybe more. So that's an endpoint that you're never going to reach. But beware of games that don't have endings. If they don't have an ending, set an ending for yourself. Right? X4, when I completely own an entire sector and I have so many capital ships, I'm done. Right? You don't have to do this with something like XCOM or Pathfinder Kingmaker or Baldur's Gate 3 because they have an ending and you'll see the end game cinematic and the game is over. Right? But there are lots of games that don't ever end. MMOs are designed to never end because they want to keep you playing. So then, if you want a sense of completion, you're going to have to set your own goals and say, I am done when I hit veteran level 50. 50 regular levels, 50 veteran levels, I'm now finished, right? Or I am done when I complete 80 story arcs. Or I am done when I get this badge. Or I am done when I get this achievement, right? So, for example, there are people who do Let's Plays of, say, Europa Universalis. One guy, Arumba, I used to watch. He didn't play the whole game all the time, right? He would start at whatever start date you needed to do he and his viewers would pick an achievement, like Kale, which was to start with some I can't remember which country you started with, somewhere in Southeast Asia, and conquer a certain region. And once you had that conquered, the game isn't over. You just got that achievement, but he stopped the playthrough. He said, we have got that achievement. And even though EU4 could go another 170 years, we're not going to go that because I've got the achievement and now we're going to go do another achievement. Right? So he didn't conquer the whole world. He didn't go to the end date. Right? A lot of people's ending for EU4 or 5 is either A, conquer the entire world before the end date, or B, get to the end date. Right? And at the end date, be at least the most powerful country in the world, right? Survive to the end date, however you want to do it. But he didn't do that. He just picked an achievement, and he tried to get the achievement as fast as he could, and as soon as he got the achievement, boom, he's done, on to the next achievement. And so he has all this sense of accomplishment in the game because he considers it complete by just doing this little piece until he gets that, right? It could be the same thing in COH. We're going to do this until we get a badge, and then this character is complete, maybe at level 24, and then we're going to go on and do another badge on a different character. Right? So set your own goals on these endless games, or you never feel a sense of completion, and you always feel like you quit. Right? So anyway, that's my talk about why people quit games and how to play more games to completion. I don't know how much some of this is going to work because I haven't really implemented it yet, but I definitely have a goal for myself this summer to complete more games. Not only this, but also complete more board games. Play to the end of a scenario, play to the end of a campaign in games like Company of Heroes and stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing that this summer as well. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes.